welcome back, everyone, to the Get Shit Done podcast. It's yours truly, Julie Jones, with the Adventures of Julie Jones. And each and every week, I bring you exciting guests from around the world. And we talked about just about everything, and sometimes it doesn't even have anything to do with who they are. And we just find like really great, interesting things to chat about. And we go from there. Well, of course, each and every week, I promise you that this week will be no different. And I'm super excited to introduce you today to a new friend of mine. She was a co-author in a book, Traci Hill. Welcome to the show. Yeah. You know what? Actually, but I don't know if it's working. Oh, so a friend of mine sent me this, right? She sent me, let me see if I can see the clapping one. There's a clapping one. Oh, maybe it's not
like a little sound thing.
I don't know. It's supposed to be a little sound thing, but now all of a sudden, of course,
I heard it. It sounded like a toilet flushing.
Look at that! It was like a little drum roll. I got to find a way to make this louder, that people can hear it. Anyway, enough about noisemakers and all that kind of stuff. We just have the cheering in the background. Maybe I need to have my sound guy like add things. He's gonna be like, right. Julie, you got to knock it off. All right, Traci. Well, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. Let's get this party started with you. So why don't we talk about a little bit about who you are, what makes you so unique, what you do bring to the party. The floor is yours.
Well, my name is Traci Hill. As said, I'm the CEO and the founder of a company called A Woman Up. And I can tell you how I got into that. What makes me special is that, there's only one Traci, so I'm special.
Just like there's only one Julie, that makes me special.
Hey, we're all special, right? So let me just tell you what my passion is, right? My passion, because of my background and and things I did when I was coming up as a child and even in the workplace, is really helping women amplify their voices. That is like my big, big, big thing, like straight up, right? So, and I am the kind of person who, if I hear somebody being talked to in the wrong way across the room, I'm like getting up and I'm like, you can't talk, and you need to, and everybody's like, Trey, really? You're gonna get us killed. Like you can't defend the whole world. And I'm like, yes, I can. And even my children are like, Mom, it's okay, And I'm like, no, it's not. It's an injustice, So now professionally, and I've always been an advocate for the underserved and the underrepresented, and even all the time. So from having women live in my house who were transitioning from one space in their life to another, foregoing my master bedroom with a suite in it, the ensuite bathroom, because I wanted them to have their own space while they recovered and turned and did whatever they need to do the transition. So I've always been a giver. A woman across the street from me, she didn't have some money. And so she was talking about it. And I said, well, how do you got to pay the minimum on your credit cards? Like, let's talk about what's really important here. You know what I mean? And I gave her money to pay her minimum credit cards. Like, I cannot stand to see somebody who is just not doing okay. It drives me crazy. And so, oftentimes I've given to my deficit, and I'm learning those boundaries, right? Not to put myself in a place where I'm not okay for myself or my children because I've helped somebody else, right? So that's the one thing that I'm doing. I've gotten a lot better about the boundaries. So A Woman Up was born out of really a lot of it. It probably came to a kind of a head when I was going through a really, really bad divorce. And I do want to say that my ex-husband and I are, we do get along for the most part. I mean, I'm a little like, oh, don't hurt me, like, what are you getting ready to do? He wasn't physically violent or anything like that. It was just things that I'm like, oh, scared of what he would say. And is that going to be true? But what happened, and I talk about this in the book that we did together, Julie, and it's in my TEDx talk. And I've talked to women about this all the time, and they're always like, you need to tell this story. You're like a Lifetime movie. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be on Lifetime. Do I? Maybe. But anyway, but really what happened was literally, I had no idea who this guy was. And he, on paper, I knew who he was, like on the paper that was public, but I really didn't know who he was. So it ended up that our divorce was so bad that I was left with no money. Our home was going to be taken away from us because the mortgage had not been paid for 2.5 years. Can we echo that? Podcast guy, years,
2.5 years, right?
okay.
There's so many points that Traci's making that, I'm going to like extract as soon as
Girl,
she's done telling her story. So
let me hurry up and tell you, because you don't got too many extractions. Okay, this is like a facial. So it's like, so what happened is at that time, I had always been able to trust my father. And I mean, he was a human, he made mistakes and stuff, but I knew that I could trust my dad. And I did not know that people could do the things that my ex-husband did. I was like, damn, I didn't even know you could do that, right? But I'm not a criminal. And, I rolled out of Home Depot and I forgot to pay for something that was underneath. And I'm like, I gotta go back. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the person who's like, yeah, just put it in the car. So I didn't even know the things that he did were possible. And so we had no money. All the equity in our home was gone. It was terrible, right? And my children were adversely affected by it. They were in elementary school. So my focus was their emotional and psychological well-being because they had no voices, right? And they were very, very adversely affected by it. And so I had to just pull up my big girl drawers and take care of us. And it was, can I cuss on here?
oh yes, you can cuss.
Oh, okay.
It's the Get Shit Done podcast, so curse away.
Well, let me just say the shit was fucked up. Okay. So it was really, really, really hard. And that was when I realized as an adult that I gave too much power to one person. And that the things that were in the back of my mind that were kind of fucking with me, like, okay, Trey, what's up? I should have been very adamant about getting answers for those things that were kind of the pebbles that were being thrown at the window kind of a thing. And the brick was when the federal agents came and got his ass from the house, girl. And I was like, what? And I literally was running down the street when they called me and said they had my kids. I have a triple D situation. And I had to hug my triple Ds and run to go get my children. Like, it was crazy. And they didn't know what was going on. They're in elementary school. So the bottom line is, I felt like if I would have just had more confidence to speak up in my marriage, I'm not saying we would be together or any of that, because, the stuff he was doing was definitely, I don't want no culpability, you know what I'm saying? But the things that he was doing, I should have been like, what is this? Why is this feeling? Why do I feel this way? Show me this, show me that, right? And I totally relinquished things to him. And my therapist said, Trey, don't feel guilty because you trusted your husband. You're supposed to be able to trust your husband, but there's more to it than that, right? So that was my biggest thing. It was like, and then when I was a child, I didn't feel like I had a voice. So now I'm just like, people have to speak up and really advocate for themselves in the workplace, at home, or whatever. And so that's why A Woman Up is about amplifying your voice. Speak the F up. Okay.
There's so much gold in what you just spoke about, because like for people who are listening in, that was a lot of great information. And I don't know how many people have picked things up. So it first goes all the way back to what you talked about getting in trouble for like going up to people and saying, listen, you're not allowed to let anybody speak to you like that, right? Because sometimes people have been so beat down and so battered down that they don't even realize it anymore. Mm-hmm. And it takes an outside voice to say, listen, you don't have to tolerate this kind of talk. Mm-hmm. See, for so many of us, like sometimes when you're in a situation and you're beat down over and over, or the words are said to you over and over, you don't realize in that moment, because you're just so used to it until somebody points it out to you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what, like, I know that's what you're really good about. The other thing of people who are listening in, it's listen to your intuition.
Girl.
Okay? I mean, like, honestly, we know, and we say this all the time, but if like you get that feeling, like I'll get that feeling, And everybody knows what that feeling is, that when it comes over you, that something's not right, start to question and ask, right? I mean,
And don't feel, let me say this. The problem with not asking is because we don't want to hear the bad answer. We don't want to, deal with the consequences of, oh, now I know that and I got to do something about it, right? I know that, there's no equity in the house. I know that my bank accounts are on E. I know that, all the stuff I found out when he was gone, and I could like open the mail and go, because I don't go through people's stuff. And I feel like if you're married or even living with somebody, it is not for me to go through your things. If I have to go through your stuff, then we got a whole nother problem, right? I feel like there should be privacy within a relationship. And so I never went through his work things. I never went through his stuff. But, and when I even was trepidatious about doing it when he was away at wherever the orange suit place. And he was only there for a few weeks. The rest of the time he was on house arrest. But and now he's doing fabulous. So anyway, because I don't want to be talking about him like really badly or whatever, but he fucked up. So the whole thing is that when you don't ask and you don't know what's going on, it seems like it's going to be really freaking hard at that moment. But it's really hard to get out of that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, don't wear a helmet. You crash, your skull is broken, and you're sitting in a chair peeing on yourself for the rest of your life because you have lost all your whatever. Or wear a helmet, look a little geeky, feel a little uncomfortable, right? And crash and get up and go, oh, right? So it's okay to ask. And getting out of it is so much harder than mitigating or stopping it from the beginning. And I couldn't have stopped it from the beginning because I didn't know what was happening. But I'm just telling you, it makes sense to speak up and just and insist on answers, because it really, it was very difficult. I mean, it's so emotional. I mean, I literally could cry about it. Seriously, it was really fucked up. So.
Well, and it's not just in your instance, right? Because, like we sometimes go to the woulda, coulda, shoulda, because hindsight, I always say, is 2020. Like you look back and now the signs are there, but when you're in it, you don't always see it. But the most important thing that you said is that, the asking, because sometimes that helps the person who is under all this weight. He may or may not have opened up and like just let you know what his burden was, right? And like your situation is extreme, but there's other people out there who are listening that just by you asking, whether it's in like an intimate relationship or one of your friends, that you showing, that question is going to relieve them, like, oh my gosh, there's somebody that I can finally talk to. Right? Because sometimes some of us like hold it close to heart, and we don't want anybody to know.
And he was an old school dude, right? So he grew up, in an old school situation where the man is supposed to take care of the household, right? And which I appreciate, and that's why one of the reasons why I married him, because I didn't want to be my own husband, right? So, right. And I'm a feminist with the old fashioned girl spin, right? I don't want to wash my cars and take out the trash. I'll do it, but I don't want to. I don't want to open up my own doors and all that stuff. But at the same time, let me just tell you, sis, I did ask him. I just didn't ask him until like, well, show me. I assume that I asked a grown ass person a grown ass question, I'm gonna get a grown ass answer. I didn't get that. I was like, why can't we do this? And what's going on with this? I'm bringing home this, and why can't we this? And so I'm asking the questions. But because the industry he was in, I trusted him to be managing finances and all that kind of stuff, and it just wasn't working out. So I did ask. But if somebody is trying to deceive you, it doesn't matter. They're gonna,
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, like there are people, and I have dated those kind of people where, they have like built-in lies, and like, you kind of like, again, your intuition is telling you, well, that's not quite right. But yet you may not know enough to know, right, like that there's, like that you got to dig a little deeper. And
they're good at finding their victims.
Oh yeah.
I was distracted with work and 2 babies and and he's like, So yeah.
Well, so now you have this amazing company, A Woman Up. So let's talk a little bit about, so from that, okay, because there's the silver lining, right? Like sometimes it takes us going to the depths of despair, like, like you're like, okay, this is it. Now the only way to go is up, a woman up. So talk about what you do for women now. And I know that you do some stuff with TEDx, which like I'm fascinated with as well. So let's get into some of those things that you do for other people.
So I did a TEDx on last year, and people were asking me, how'd you do that? Da, 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 right? And I was like, oh. So I said, well, I went to the person who helped me get on the TEDx stage, and she said, well, I'm not helping people do that anymore. It was too much work. And I was like, oh, okay. So now I give classes this or to amplify your voice on any stage, on any of life stages. And the one, and we do talk about the process to get on the TEDx stage, or what your talk has to be to get on the TEDx stage. But it also is about just amplifying your voice in any place, because the process is still the same, right? The process is always begin with the end in mind. Always think about the message or the story or the idea, which is a TEDx stage, the idea worth spreading. And when you're thinking about that, if you're always starting with the end in mind, what you're crafting, what you're talking about, what you're speaking about, or whatever is you're going to be making that map to that end result, right? So if you're thinking about putting together your presentation for your review at work, what's the end in mind, right? If you're talking about, hey, I want to go to dinner at a 5-star restaurant versus a 4-star restaurant, you need to think about the end in mind and how you're going to sell that to your husband or whoever's taking you, right? So you always need to be thinking about the end in mind. So that's how I approach all of this. And it really helps people have a lot of aha moments, because they don't always think about that, right? They're just like, I want to talk about this. Okay, well, you got to narrow it down and get people to go with you. You got to take them on a journey. You got to take them on the path. You got to sell them the whole way. And there's a process to that. And so really what I do is help women understand what is their call to action, right? What is it that they want people to do? What do you want from somebody, right? And then you want to say, how are you going to get there? Get down that path in that conversation, in that talk on the stage, whatever it is, right? It took me two and a half, almost a year and a half to get my husband to fix some chairs. You know what I mean? I wasn't going about the right way. I wasn't taking my own advice.
Well, and the analogy that came to mind is like, it's like planning a vacation without a destination in mind, right?
Exactly.
Telling everybody you're going on vacation and people are asking you like, well, where are you going? Well,
Right.
I don't know. Like, I don't know where I'm going to go. It's like,
somewhere warm. I want to go to a beach.
So you know what, and what you are talking about is key in anything. Like I even talk to people about when you go out networking, what is your end goal? What is your intention for going out there? Because just to go willy-nilly,
right.
Maybe I'll meet some great people. Maybe that's exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get
makes them a great person, right?
willy-nilly results.
Right.
It's like, okay, come say, come sa, right?
Right.
But going in with a little bit of an idea of what you want the outcome to happen is really going to take you a lot further. Because let's be honest, Traci, nobody has time to waste. I mean, and nobody has time to waste. And so it's like, okay, just, set yourself up for success.
Right. And the thing is that when we go off path, we get frustrated because we don't have a plan. We think we do, but then you sit down and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know I could do it that way. Or that's faster, or that's a good strategy, or whatever. And you get to where you want to go. A lot of times the reason why we don't go the route that could be the road less traveled, which is a good road, okay, is because we don't want to we're scared about what happens when we get there. It's a lot about a fear. The fear of, if I ask for something, am I going to get it? Am I going to be rejected? And then what do I do? Do I have to quit? Do I have to leave? Do I have to get divorced? Do I have to, so all of the things that go with the no, right? Hearing the answer no is what scares us from asking. Mm-hmm. Well, if I ask, I'm probably not going to get it. Well, there's probably somebody else better qualified. Well, there's somebody, well, you don't even know that. First of all, you know what I mean? And don't worry about all of that. I never worry about competition. Ever. I've always, when I manage sales teams and recruiting teams, I said, don't ever badmouth the other company. You just focus on what you do well and ask them what do they need, and then talk to them about how you can help them with what that is. If they're not getting it from the competition, you don't need to tell them. They already know what they ain't getting. You know what I'm saying?
Well, absolutely. And I tell people all the time, like, there's enough to go wrong for all of us, right? I mean, some people may look at and say, okay, and I know that how we help people is completely different, right? But like people may look at it and say, well, you kind of like are similar and you were in this book together. And don't you like consider Traci competition and having her on her podcast? I'm like, heck no, because like I believe in having so many people in my tool belt. Because here's the thing. If I'm not able to help somebody, I want to make sure that there's somebody that I know and I know well that is the right fit for whoever that person
Oh yeah,
is.
I'll refer somebody in a minute. Absolutely.
I know.
It's no need, because if your job is to help people, and this is really my passion, seriously, I'm seriously serious about this, right? I am betting the house on this thing. Is I don't want to have them not have a good experience with me. The point is not to hurt somebody more. The point is not to pull them in and get their money just so you don't help them. I mean, how is that helping somebody? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. So yeah, I'm all about passing people on. You know what I mean? I think that's terrible if you don't do that.
Right. Well, and sometimes we pass people along that we're like, no, you're going to suck my energy dry.
Well, those people I just say no to. I don't pass them anyhow.
I do too. It's like, thank you for your time. Have a great, week.
Yeah,
Great.
here's the number to my therapist. I'm a coach, I'm not a therapist. There's a difference.
Too funny. What has been like in starting your own business? Because so prior to starting A Woman Up, and when you were, married to your ex-husband, were you working for corporate? Like, did you have an actual job or did you have your own business at that point?
Well, I've always done stuff on the side just because people come to me, like I told you, I want to help the whole world. Like, we are the world. We are, But the thing that I've always done was help small businesses and understand how to staff better and how to recruit and kind of a little HR generalist type stuff and that kind of thing. So I've always done that. And that's, and I did not charge a bunch because I was always, I was very fortunate to have a career that I was always making in the up 6-figure situation. So it wasn't like it was a money thing for me. It was more helping. Sometimes now I regret, like I could have got some more shoes with that money. But anyway, so I'm back. So I've always done this, and I have gotten the name of my parent company is Traci Hill Solutions, and A Woman Up is underneath Traci Hill Solutions. So Traci Hill Solutions has always been a professional development company that help people or companies with staffing, recruiting, and all that kind of stuff. 8A firms, small firms, that kind of thing. So I've been doing that forever. And also, so that I've always done this. So A Woman Up came because of all the conversations that I was having with people, impromptu, grocery store, divorce court. When I was sitting there waiting, there was another woman getting her divorce and we talking about stuff. Girl, what happened to you? What you know? And so as I'm telling them, they're like, dang, you really need to be getting divorced. They almost felt like they needed to go back to their husband after they heard my story. I was saving marriages up in the divorce court, So, but when I realized just how extreme my situation was, you know what I mean? I knew it was extreme, but it wasn't until other people were like, damn, Trey, your stuff, that was messed up. And you still alive, you know what I mean? Like you haven't gone crazy or looking for corners in a round room. Like you should be like loco right now. And I know that it was because I'm a resilient person. I know that I've always been resourceful. And so I decided that I really wanted to give this a real go. And here I am, because it was just so, how you go to bed and you cannot stop thinking about something. And it's worse than craving like the best ice cream or whatever you want. It's like literally I could not get A Woman Up out of my system. And now I finally feel like, seriously, Julie, that I'm in my place. That I finally, all of the experiences that I've had, my children are emotionally fine, they're psychologically fine, they're academically fine. I have 2 Black boys that I'm raising in America. And even though we live in DC, which is a great city for, mocha latte and all kinds of other kinds of people living here, it's still a racist world, right? And a racist country. And my children are fantastic. And I feel like I'm not, one just walked by me like, yeah.
That's right.
Like, yeah, I'm the shit. No. So, but I'm like, I know that I'm not just talking to people about a possibility. I am the success story. I know that you can come out of it. I mean, I had no money. I was on food stamps. I had no idea how I was going to feed my children. My father was a millionaire. He passed away during the recession in 2007. And, all this, fighting for his estate, blah, 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 because it was unexpected. I got to the point where I had nothing. And I was living in the house with my husband, who was not going to do, I was the one standing in the welfare line. He didn't go in the welfare line. I had on a long ass cashmere coat, a cashmere wrap, a hat, some lambskin gloves, I had my, my warmest stuff I had. They probably looking at me like, you don't need to be in this line. I'm like, yeah, boo, I got clothes, but I ain't got no food. I got to come in here. Y'all got to help me. So I know what it's like to be in a really messed up place. Electric bill one time was getting ready to get cut off. My ex-husband was like, well, Traci, if we don't get this money to pay the electric bill, it's going to get cut off. I'm like, how, where the, and I had to call my girlfriend, who was in California 3 hours earlier at I think it was 8 o'clock in the morning my time. And it's 5 something her time, to ask her to pay my electric bill that I didn't even know was a problem. And I can go on and on and on about these stories, but it was fucked up. You know what I mean? And I know that, and no way that anybody, I used to drive a freaking Porsche that I had put $20,000 down to drive, and I still had plenty of money left over. I met this mofo, and all of a sudden, so I know how it is, and people are so embarrassed by their stories. But if you tell me you can meet somebody who hasn't been through anything, it's because they've been living in a box. Like, where you been? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And it's in the sharing of the stories. And, I love, the transparency today, because people who are listening in, again, it gives people that, okay, there's either hope for me, or the fact that they realize, oh my gosh, my story is similar and I'm not alone in this. Because we've all had situations, myself included, where we have been knocked down. I mean, there was a point, I was, I had divorced. I'm not really making any money. And I'm living off of credit cards, and at some point there's nothing left. Right. It's okay. And I'm pulling out, out of 401ks and, whatever I could do to stay afloat. And still working and doing all the stuff. None of us has it been smooth sailing. And, anybody listening in, that everybody has been knocked down. And it's the choice that you made, Traci, and the choice that I've made over and over in my life to get back up and keep on going.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, there's a couple of times I wanted to throw the keys on the counter and say, but I didn't.
Right.
And what kept me alive, and I mean literally alive, were my children. Because I knew that if I did not figure this stuff out, that it would ruin their lives. Because I was all they had. They didn't trust their father anymore. You know what I mean? So what was I going to know? My sister would take them, but then that's all effed up. You know what I mean? How would I, and I was going to get me one of them, those 3-wheel things that people drive. Ooh, it's like a motorcycle, but it has 3 wheels.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna get me one of them and I'm leaving. I'm gonna grow dreadlocks and I'm gonna sit on the beach somewhere and I'm gonna sell coconuts. I am out of here, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm out. And I was like, my kids need to go to school, so many times I was contemplating, how do I get out of this? And I actually did contemplate just going to sleep and hoping I didn't wake up, and I didn't do it. It's because of my kids. And I'm so glad I'm alive.
Right. Right.
And I don't want to, I'm glad dreadlocks would have been not the best thing for me either. So it's neither one of those options would have worked for me.
Yeah, it's I'm not going to really, carry off those dreadlocks. So I better find something else that I got to do, right?
I'm homeless on the beach. I'm like, where would I go to the bathroom?
Right. Yeah, it's the crazy things that you think about that kind of keep you sane, right? It's okay, yeah. I don't want to really have to be going into the ocean, to use the bathroom. So
number 2.
All right, Traci. Well, as we're kind of wrapping up the show, like a couple of things. Number one, is there anything like a parting message that you want to leave the audience with? Because we've talked about a lot. There's so much inspiration, but what is still on your heart that you'd like to share?
Well, I put on my email, my personal email is, keep your head up because a head down cannot hold a crown. So, we can live to the side and it might slip and, one of your friends can help you put it back on right. You know what I'm saying? But always remember that you're so valuable and you're so worth it. And even if you have to pause, just don't give up and listen to yourself. So many times I feel like I have to be going 50,000 miles an hour and I just have to say, you know what, my body is saying, Netflix and chill, girl. And I do it, right? So that's one thing. And I definitely want to ask people, what are you a woman up to? What are you a woman up to? Are you up to fixing your life? Are you up to looking for solutions? I mean, let me tell you something. If you need a solution, I got solutions. I have an accountability group that meets every other Wednesday, starting this Wednesday, that is about how do you get to your next goal? And the path to almost every goal is the same. So don't feel like whatever your goal is. I mean, I ain't gonna help you murder anybody. I ain't gonna do nothing illegal. But if it's illegal, I'll help you. So come to the accountability group and also check out the website, awomanup.com. And if you mention get shit done, okay, then you will get 20% off of any training that we have. And
that is so awesome.
Yeah. So, and the one that's coming up on the 16th is a 4-part one, and it's really good. It's amplify your voice on any of life stages, and you'll definitely get a lot out of it. So,
well, we will make sure that, we have all of that information, in the show notes as well, so people can find you easily. And what a great offer, 20% off for Get Shit Done, people.
Get shit
done. If you're ready to take it up a next level, well, like between Traci and I, man,
yes.
we're like two bookends that'll have you blowing it out of the water.
Look, ladies, you have no excuses. None, right? You got us. You have no excuses. And, and if you feel bad, it's okay. It's okay to go through something. Just don't give up.
It is. You're absolutely right. Go through it. And I love that. Don't give up. Final question for you today. And, you've answered this in a lot of ways. However, this is the Get Shit Done podcast. So what are you doing to get shit done in your own life this week?
Well, oh my God, it's a big question, girlfriend. Let me see. Well, I'm on this beautiful Get Shit Done podcast with Julie Jones. So that's a big thing, right? I actually took a shower for this.
Yeah, because you can smell through Zoom, right?
So I actually am doing a lot. I don't know where to start, but what we're doing is just adding more and more things to a Woman Up's curriculum, where we do a lot of facilitating a lot of opportunities, curating stages that are going to start next year. We're going to be having an annual event where we're going to recognize women who are getting shit done. We should call it the Get Shit Done Award for after you, Julie.
The Julie Jones GSD Award. Like, yeah. I love it.
So we're doing that. And then I'm also starting a speakers guild, speakers bureau for African-American women and underserved population. So, and that's something that's on my heart to do. Literally, I mean, women in prison. I want to hear from women everywhere, not just the women on the street, but people who are, some people are locked up for having killed their spouse after they hit, they got beaten in the head with a hammer. I mean, it's like crazy, you know what I'm saying? And these stories need to be heard. And there's a lot of stories out there that can help people. So that's a lot. I'm doing a lot.
Well, don't go anywhere after we're done recording this, because now that you said that, I've got some connections for you. So this is how it works, right? Because I am just like the queen of connecting people, and people come into my life and I just love connecting powerful women together. So I'm excited. I'm excited about my connection I'm going to make with you. All right, Traci, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an absolute blast.
I love you. Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. This has been so much fun. So this is Julie Jones signing off for another episode of the Get Shit Done podcast. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you listening in. Please, please, please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, so that other people can hear Traci's message, because it was so damn powerful today. And people are missing out if you're not sharing and making the world a better place. And so, as always, have a productive, get shit done kind of week. We'll talk to you soon.